I just finished watching the documentary about David Beckham on Netflix, and wow, it changed my entire perspective on him and as him as a man, individual, and as a husband, as a footballer, as a model, as an influencer, whatever you like to call him. But without a doubt, was one of United's many great players that they had. What an amazing documentary that was. Like I said, I just got done watching the documentary, the entire 4 or 5 episodes, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun. But what I thought was very interesting is that I, just like many others out there, used to think he's a prick. Oh, he's got money, he thinks he's everything. I mean, yes, he still is, but regardless of that, I never got to understand the behind the scenes of what his life was like before the fame. He used to be a footballer at a young age. His father, pretty much, some would say, forced him upon to be a footballer. I would say motivated him. He wanted his son to succeed, and obviously the football was a massive passion because David Beckham, his father, was a Manchester United supporter. It was meant to be all along, huh? Just like my granddaddy when he passed away, United supporter, and now 10, 11 years later, look at me, I support United. But it's very interesting. He got signed by United, his first professional contract at the age of 15 by the one and only Sir Alex Ferguson, the best coach Manchester United ever had. A lot of people would arguably say the best coach ever. A lot of people would say, nah, Mourinho, Ancelotti, Pep Guardiola. Personally, me, I've got to be honest, unfortunately, for me, the world's best has got to be Pep Guardiola. Yep, I hate to say it and confirm it as a United supporter, but you've got to give the man credit for what he's built up. But let's also give a massive shout out to Arteta. But his influence isn't as massive as Guardiola. Now back to David Beckham. Wow, what a fascinating yet very humble experience that was on Netflix. Now, if you haven't watched the documentary yet, if you're not into football, then okay, then it's not your thing, I guess. But if you like football or you would like to know what was it like for him to grow up? We all know him as David Beckham, the footballer, but what was it like where he grew up? He says he didn't grow up with much, which, if it's true or not, I don't know. You know how some people like to lie, especially rappers. They lie in their lyrics and shit, and we used to have it hard. But, grew up in a mansion and stuff like that. So it's that type of shit. But the interesting thing is, he was signed to Manchester United at the age of 15. Dude, that's crazy, man. 15 years, he got scouted. So Alex Ferguson called him up one night, and bam, the next day he got signed, went to Old Trafford. But the interesting thing was he was a good footballer at United, but it all changed when he made that goal. I don't know against which club it was exactly. Bear in mind, I wasn't born then, so some things in the documentary I didn't even know about him and the club itself and its history. I'm a United supporter, but that doesn't mean that I know everything of all football players. There's a lot of football players that my dad speaks about that I'm like, huh? Who are these? With all due respect, motherfucker, I ain't 70, 80 years old, bro. I'm 21. How am I supposed to know these footballers from the 70s and 60s? It's like my grandmother saying, oh, I remember back in the days when Liverpool. I'm like, Granny, no, I don't know who that is. With all due respect, I was still in my dad's nutsack. I wasn't even born yet. You know what I mean? Like, it's always funny when old people like to involve stuff like that. But it's also interesting, You get to speak about other players. But he got his first contract at the age of 15. And it was crazy because at an eventual point, he was making £50,000 a week. Insane. You know how much money that was for a person back then at the time? Now, some football players make $300,000 a week. Like more than $1 million in a month. That is insane. And that's excluding sponsorship deals. The thing with David Beckham, which something inside me really, it made me sad, really. When he did eventually play for England in the World Cup against Argentina, and he got that red card, the amount of discrimination, hate, and just in general, the anger the English supporters showed towards him for many months, up to a year plus, I never knew that happened. I honestly had no clue it was ever that bad, to the point that him and his wife were getting death threats. The baby was getting death threats, kidnapping threats. I honestly never knew it was that serious. And that's why this documentary highlights such an important part of who he is behind the scenes. Because we all know footballers as footballers. But at the end of the day, they're still a human being, just like the rest of us. The thing is, they just have a lot of money. Unlike us, we don't. I'm speaking for us average people. We don't have like the type of influence and type of money and power that these footballers have. And also, we don't have the talent that these have. Because to be become a footballer is a difficult thing. I used to want to grow up as a kid, and I'm pretty sure a lot of us that used to play football said once at least, oh, when I grow up, I want to become a professional footballer. It's easier said than done. It takes hard work, dedication, and even then, you're not promised that you're going to be an actual footballer. You can have all the talent in the world, but if it's up here not correct, you're not going to get very far. That's why Ronaldo and Messi, the two arguably best players ever, I don't think anyone's ever going to beat them for what they've done. I'm sorry. No one's going to beat them ever. Trophy-wise, everything. The reason they got so far in their career, yes, they had the talent, but that's not exactly only what brought them to what they were. It was the mindset. And it was the exact same thing with David Beckham. He had all the talent in the world, but he had discipline. But he wanted to move further from just the football point. He eventually wanted to go into his career when he did retire and have money backed up. Because the thing is, it's nice that you're making a lot of money as a footballer, but a footballer's career is not promised tomorrow. You can get fired or let go by your club the next day by any reason. And not just that, footballers intend to splash a lot of money. They don't think of the future. They think about, okay, now I'm going to buy this and this and that. But what about 5 to 10 years' time? What if football is done? What if it's over? And that's the one thing that he was very smart about. It also does help the fact that he married one of the Spice Girls. Never knew that until I watched the documentary. Yes, I knew he had a wife, but holy shit, I had no goddamn idea he was married to one of the Spice Girls. I mean, damn, that's crazy. She was posh. She had no rough upbringing, not at all. It's funny because in the documentary, I like to see it more as an interview, but documentary is because it's multiple episodes. There's one of the episodes, I think it's in episode 1 or 2, one of the two at least. She said that she didn't have it easy growing up, and then he asked her, what car did your dad used to take you with to school? So blah, blah, blah. She said a Rolls Royce, so he looked at the camera. I think it's very interesting. That's probably the English side of the humor, but also like, don't bullshit. You grew up rich, and he didn't. So that's definitely an interesting thing. David Beckham, he played for, let me think it off the top of my head, right? Played for Man United. I know he eventually played for Real Madrid, AC Milan as well. Played for PSG as well. He played for LA Galaxy. And I'll be honest, I think he actually retired at PSG. Oh no, sorry. When he went from PSG, he went to LA Galaxy. And it's funny because we look at it back now, all the like old retired players used to go to the MLS. And now when every player goes to like Saudi Arabia, we call it the oil league. Kind of is, rightfully so. But it's a phenomenal documentary. And it really opens up the struggle that he had as a footballer and the passion he had for football. And just the in general, how do I say it? You get to look at him more as a person and not just, a simple footballer. Because when an incident occurred during the World Cup against Argentina where he got the red card, the amount of people that turned around on him, they knew he had the talent, but they were also pissed off and blamed him for the loss. While in fact, it's a team sport. At the end of the day, one person's action can have a massive impact on the rest of the team, but they didn't lose because of him. They lost because they didn't play as a team. And yet again, like I said, the abuse that he got, I never knew it was that serious. I mean, fuck me, it's just football at the end of the day. God damn, I love football. Man United is my team. I don't miss a single game. I even sometimes have to purchase games just to watch them play. That's how dedicated I am to my club. But not in a million years would I ever consider racially abusing one of the players or discriminating him or giving him death threats. Why would you do that? At the end of the day, it's just a game. It's never that serious. Passion is obviously a normal thing, but that is no longer passion. And those aren't supporters to begin with. I just want to make that very clear. People that send death threats to athletes and that, they're not real supporters. They're hooligans. It's the same thing with when people claim to be a supporter of a club but then break the club, break the stadium, You're not a supporter, you're a fucking hooligan. I also didn't know that he had so much press conference on him. Like you see all the tabloids and all the stuff in the news back then. Bear in mind, they didn't have Instagram or like YouTube or... could you imagine David Beckham right now in his prime with all the shit going on? I'm honestly surprised, and this is my very honest opinion. I'm so surprised that he didn't consider at one point, going out, putting the lights off, if you know what I mean. Could you imagine all the pressure as a teenager? You're still a kid at the end of the day. You're 19, 20 years. You're one of the best, most promising talents played in the world. You get all this shit bombarded on you, all this love, and then the next day you do something, bam, it's all negative. They follow you everywhere you go. You go take a piss, they take pictures of you. They follow you and your family. I personally could never want to, I would never want to live that lifestyle. Yeah, it's nice making a lot of money, but that money also comes with a lot of stuff that you don't want, that you never asked for. You get no privacy. You don't got this and that. That's why a lot of people and a lot of athletes struggle with maintaining that perfect performance, because they're also just humans at the end of the day. And the same with David Beckham. He was just a kid when this all happened. Could you just imagine? You sign your first contract at a club 15 years old, and then eventual point 3-4 years later, you're making 50,000. You're making more than 200,000 a month clean just from the club. That's just your salary. That's not even including all the sponsorships. I reckon he was probably making 400,000 a month at 18, 19, without a doubt. Because if you see it, all the cars and all the watches he's got, and him and his wife combined are worth more than $1 billion. So that should tell you a lot. He's also a very smart businessman. That's something that he did super well when he retired. Before his retirement, he was, getting up purchases, houses, estates, watches, businesses. He owns a couple of clubs as well. I'm not sure. I want to say he owns a percentage of PSG. I don't think he does, but I do believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, I do believe he purchased something of a football club in America, or maybe that was the other guy, the guy that played the Green Lantern. I think it's him. He owns a football club. But besides that, a phenomenal documentary. It will give you a different perspective on David Beckham. It really will. If you never used to like him, or you couldn't ever tolerate him, and he's a sexy guy, do not get it twisted. Good looking dude, still at his age. I get why a lot of ladies used to like him as a teenager, and now as well. But definitely go check it out if you feel like it, man. Peace out.